Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the Cheltenham Exchange. You'll notice that OJ's not here this evening, so myself, Alex, I'll be hosting tonight, and we've got a bit of a different kind of video for you this evening. What we're going to be doing is going through some of the tips and polls, that we ran on Twitter over the last 7 days. Now, those of us that do follow us on Twitter, you'll notice that each day for the last 7 days, we've posted a race for each day. A race on each day for the Cheltenham Festival. So the first day we posted the Supreme, second day the Arkle, and we've been getting your opinions, your thoughts, and today we're going to go through and see what everybody said. Johnny and Ian are joining me this evening. Unfortunately, Matty and OJ couldn't come this evening, so it's just the three of us this evening. And finally, just want to say once again, thanks to Lloyd at Hacked Up Racing for all your support. If you want to get some discount on his website, you can get a 25% discount by using the code EXCHANGE25. That's right, isn't it, Ian?
Yep. Don't forget to give a like to the video. As many likes. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe and to like, so like away.
And if there's any horse you particularly fancy for the festival, put them down in the comments, and we may have a look at them next week as well. So we'll go on to the first race then, so the Supreme Novices Hurdle, and we'll have a look at everybody's views. So here we go. So on the screen, we've got the current poll that we ran a few days ago. Now, I will call out that the elephant in the room is that we actually ran this poll prior to the Dublin Racing Festival. However, you can see the little tick there. We did actually tick Marine Nationale. I'm not sure who it was of the Exchange boys that ticked it, but we did tick Marine Nationale. You've also on the screen there, you can see also the previous winners. So from 2022 back to 2013. If I come to you first, Johnny, any previous winners on that list that you were particularly keen on?
Right. Okay. On the previous list? Yeah,
on the list of previous winners from the last, I say 10 years. Any horses that won it over the last 10 years that you were particularly a massive fan of?
Well, yeah, I loved it when LeBake won, I must admit. Having been on at 50-1 that day, yeah, that was a great winner for me. But yeah, I mean, there's been some great winners of this race, obviously, down the years. We've had Appreciate It, Shishkin, Altior, Duvan, Vitor. I think the first one I actually saw live was Vitor in 2014. So I'd probably go along with that one, as it was my first visit to Cheltenham for day one of the festival, Tuesday. So yeah, I'd probably go with him. Although I did like Cinders and Ashes a couple of years before that as well. That was another very good winner for me. I only saw that one on TV. So yeah, I'd probably go with Vitor because it was the first one.
That Vitor sort of novice season was really interesting. How they sort of tried to obviously keep him and Faheen away from each other, didn't they? And then at Cheltenham, they had Vitor running in the Supreme and then Faheen obviously running in the Ballymore. But then they swapped them around over distances, didn't they, when they went back to Ireland to Punchestown? Because Faheen came back down to 2 miles and Vitor then stepped up, which is, can't imagine them doing that again, well, ever again, really, can you?
Yeah. I think that's when Mullins Bingo probably officially started.
Yeah.
I wasn't really doing Ante-Post much then, so I didn't really get involved in that. It was more of a on the day punting. So yeah, but it just shows what happens, doesn't it? You just never know till the morning of like that. Well, when they're actually declared. So yeah, no, it's promises to be the same again this year. I think
so too. Going to be a great year. And Ian, you can see that on the screen that when we put out the poll, we had 80% of the vote for Facile Vega and then maybe 13% for Marine Nationale. How do you think that would have potentially changed if we'd ran the poll afterwards? Do you think it'd be a lot closer, or maybe Marine ahead, or?
Oh, no, most definitely. Probably, if to be honest, if we'd done it now, it'd probably be the other way round. I would say Marine Nationale, still in an unbeaten record. High definition, I'm not obviously with the 4. I'm not too sure about, and I think it potentially could be stepping up in trip. Might be going to the Ballymore after all. But yeah, I think it would definitely turn around after this. Whether there is something in this, hopefully not with Facile Vega, but Marine Nationale, I believe, is favourite now for the Supreme after the weekend's racing. But yeah, definitely with a big change.
I've seen a few of the bookmakers have started clipping Facile Vega back in, so maybe they've had some more money or some good word about how he's likely to recover, or
I believe it's been not a stable tour, but I think a lot of the had a press day at Clos Sutton, and I think he's whether Mullins has played it down a bit and said it was more, let's say, jockey error from from Mr. Townend. I think it was more that rather than it be something worse than we originally feared with the horse. So I think it's where people maybe thought that, and he could get better next time. I think that's why people are thinking, okay, we can forgive that run and try again for the festival.
Okay. And then just moving on to a few of the comments. So on here, Jamie the Sensible said that he thinks Marine National's got a huge engine and a huge turn of foot, and he thinks he's good enough to beat Marine National. I mean, that was good insight because he was very impressive, wasn't he? But he has been very impressive, hasn't he, Marine National?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then Andrew Hollis is a big fan of High Definition. George 99999 loves Rare Edition. And then another big shout from Simon Curry for Facile Vega. I wonder if he's going to jump back on again now that Facile Vega's drifted in the market.
Well, I believe Rare Edition. Sorry, Alex. I believe Rare Edition is either due to run this week or the weekend, so that potentially could be an interesting angle, especially if he wins well, could be up with favouritism as well.
Definitely. Right, we'll move on then to the second race of the first day, which is the Arkle Novices Chase. Previous winners on there. A personal favourite of mine from last year, Edward Stone. Big fan of Edward Stone. Another one that you were a big fan of, Johnny, on there. Put the Kettle On.
Yeah,
we're on Put the Kettle On, a big price.
Yeah.
And then obviously one of Ian's that he's a big fan of, Altior, being Mr. Henderson, isn't he?
And Footpad I had as well. I had quite a big win on Footpad that year as well in 2018. So I think other than Duke de Geneva, I think the Arkle's been pretty good to me in the past few years.
That was a strange race when Duke de Geneva won. And he's done nothing since as well. So
no.
Okay, so I'll call out once again that the elephant in the room, when you look at the poll, El Fabiolo's not on there, and we only had 3% of the vote for other. So looks like he wasn't particularly fancied by those obviously voting on the poll. However, did have a couple of shouts in the comments. So the Talking Horses podcast, they said that he's been their long-term Ante-Post fancy. Had a look as well on their page. They'd actually tipped him up back in December. So they were very keen on him quite early. And then MPK has commented he thinks El Fabiolo if he stays at 2 miles. Whereas Charlie Dulcich thinks John Bon will jump him into submission. And Scotty Wilco, probably quite wise actually, said that he thinks Appreciate It will go to the Turners, which looks like that might happen. What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure what went wrong with him really at the weekend. He just didn't seem to run his race at all, and probably a step up, will be due now. I mean, we've been saying this, haven't we, for like a year or so now about him stepping up. I mean, when he first went novice hurdler, we all thought he was sort of a Bartlett type horse.
Yeah, we did. I remember that actually.
Yeah, and then injuries happened, and he ended up Ballymore. Then he ended up actually going in the Supreme, didn't he? So, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go up in trip at all. But I agree with one of the comments there about John Bon. I mean, El Fabiolo so far, he does tend to make a big mistake in his race, and I think he made one. Was it about 4 out? Was it this on
quite early on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it 4? It was maybe the 4th fence. But if he does that in the Arkle, that could be the end of his race, because if John Bon is as clean as he's jumped so far, he's just going to gain lengths on him at every fence anyway. And if he makes one cock up, then he could be 5-6 lengths clear. So, I mean, if he can brush up in his jumping, he's obviously a good horse, and I actually like him. But at the moment, I think John Bon, could be the one in this.
And I'm sure that's music to your ears as well, Ian, being a big Henderson fan. I'm sure you've probably lumped the cash on.
Yeah, so I'm very pleased. So El Fabiolo did impress me, but I think obviously with the clash they had at Aintree, I think apart from the mistake he made at the end, El Fabiolo, it could have been I know it was a whisker anyway, I think it could have been a hell of a lot closer. But I still fancy John Bon, despite what happened at the Dublin Racing Festival. And I can't really see past them two, to be honest. Dysart Dynamo I thought was quite disappointing. As you're saying about Appreciate It, I believe will step up. And to be honest, I don't think there's a great deal that will threaten the top two.
I think sort of the main hope for me with John Bon is that he just turns out to be a bit more, a bit less fragile than his brother Duvan ended up being. So let's just hope that we can see him on the track a lot more than we ended up with Duvan. So yeah, so that's the Racing Post Arkle. And then we will move swiftly on to one of my favourite races of the week, the Ultima Handicap Chase. Got some great winners in there. Big fan, obviously, last year of Korak Rambler. Put him up in the on our preview for the channel. Big fan of Vintage Clouds. Beware the Bear. Any previous winners stand out for you, Johnny?
Yeah, I used to have last couple of years have not been so great, but previous winners I've had Kustar Sivola and Tempo 2 twice. He won it back to back. Absolutely loved that horse. And going further back, Chief Dan George was another good winner for me back in the day. And even further on than that was Joe's Edge. I think that was 2007. I think he was a massive price as well. And he won by like a nostril. I'm sure it was a photo. And he went to the judge and he got called. And yeah, I remember actually listening to that on the radio. I was working and I just nipped out to the car to listen to the race because I don't think really had them on the phone back then. I actually heard it on the radio. So yeah, that was great. So it's a bit better now when you can actually watch them.
Absolutely, yeah. Much better.
I still got a vivid memory. 2019, I was watching this race in the Centaur, and I think I must have been the only person cheering in the Centaur. I'd beware the Bear with Jerry McGrath, and I'm not cheering in. The place was dead silent, and I'm looking round, and I'm literally the only one cheering. I was just looking as well. Holywell, I believe I had in 2014.
Yeah.
But I think this race I don't think it's been that kind to me. I don't think. Just looking at previous winners, maybe Kustar Sivola, but I don't think I've had that many winners in previous years. I'll have to listen to you two, I think.
I think this has probably been my most successful race over the last 10 years. I think, going back, I've had every winner since 2013. So that's why I put all them up there to 2013 for this race. I was going to cut them a little bit, but some of them were lots of form studying. I usually just do one or two in the race. But then, I mean, on Tempo 2, I only back that because my manager's surname was Tout and spelt T-O-U-T as well. So you can do all the studying in the world, but sometimes it's just because of a name you end up getting the winner. So just proves, isn't it? So into the poll, we had a 20% vote share for Into Overdrive, who had a good second behind Long Press, and then obviously won at Kempton. I think it was on Boxing Day, wasn't it, when he won at Kempton? Remastered has had a very good season this year. Placed in the Hennessy, won the Hennessy.
Oh, now you're asking. I'm not too sure.
Placed in the Hennessy, wasn't it? Because it was Lamilos that won. And then 3 under through 5. I was surprised that one came out with top of the vote. Obviously, have to see how that all sort of turns out. However, we've got a rare tip from our very own OJ, who says that Fantasticas is dropping down to a very eye-catching mark. I've had a look. He actually ran in this race in the Ultima last year. He finished 7th off 144. He's now down to 135.
I backed him last year.
Yeah. I mean, could have a chance at a big price, I guess. He'd probably be each way.
Yeah, he's 25 to 1 at the moment on Bet365.
Possibly worth a look if he's going to go there. It could obviously stick Sam on there or put another claimer on. Take a few more pounds off, could be very valuable. Although saying that, off 135, you might not get in the race. I think last year bottom weight was about 138, wasn't it? Something like that. And I think even they were at the handicap, so maybe one to keep an eye on if he does sneak in a very low weight. Then we've got another couple of comments on here. So Warren Barlow, very keen on Into Overdrive. Very impressed with that form behind Long Press or Long Press, however you want to say it. And then with the win at Kempton. And then Phil Daniel, not the actor, but Phil Daniel likes Korak Rambler. I like Korak Rambler too. But he said he's very well handicapped, but he thinks he might go to the Grand National trial. I've seen today he's actually entered in the Grand National, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's got quite a good weight as well. I think quite a low weight.
Could be a nice, interesting one. Right, we'll move on then from the Ultima onto the next race, which is the Champion Hurdle. Overwhelming vote here. 81% for Constitution Hill. I will say once again, this vote was done prior to the Dublin Racing Festival, which is why Honeysuckle's in there. Now been confirmed that she's going to be going for the Mares Hurdle. But I mean, of the three Irish horses, I was actually quite intrigued to see that Stateman had the lowest vote share. I mean, Vauban had a higher vote share than him, but I mean, he was very impressive in Dublin, wasn't he?
Oh yes, he was. Yeah, very impressive. So I think he led most of the way, or 3/4 of the way, and yeah, I think it was just Vauban and Honeysuckle just couldn't catch him in the end. But yeah, he really did impress me.
And Ian, looking through, I mean, Henderson's had a few winners of this over the last few years. Epatante, Bouvardere a couple of times as well.
Yeah,
I'm sure this has been quite a nice race for you.
Yes, so I definitely had Epatante, and probably had. I might have had one of the Bouvardieres, probably the later one. I'm not sure if I backed in 2017. I think I had one of the other horses, but definitely I had Any Power, and yes, it's always a cracking race, the Champion Hurdle. I don't think it'll be much different this year, but maybe a bit one-sided, but it should still be exciting.
And Johnny, obviously the vote was very strong on Constitution Hill, like 81%. How much do you think that would possibly change if we reran this? Because I mean, Vauban didn't really run his race fully at Dublin, did he? And Honeysuckle's now not running. Do you think we'd have a big increase on Stateman?
Yeah, I think it will increase, but I'm not so sure that Constitution Hill percentage would go down by that much, to be honest. I mean, I really like Stateman, and he's been my sort of second choice for this all the way along. And that sort of confirmed that at the weekend. I thought he was really, really good. But I think there's a lot of Constitution Hill fans who still say they're not worried by him. So I don't think that would change too much, to be perfectly honest with you. But he would definitely replace Vauban and Honeysuckle on there for a start.
I think we could discuss Honeysuckle, but it would be for another video. I think we could be here all day, couldn't we, discussing what's happened today. But
she should be in this race, but yeah, we won't say any more.
No.
A couple of comments. So UK Bucks is clearly a big fan of Constitution Hill, says he's going to win by a furlong. And Neil McConnell said he's head and shoulders better than the others as well. So yeah, a couple of people there very strong on Constitution Hill. Right, moving on again to what could be one of the races of the festival. Got the Mares Hurdle. Top three in the vote share. We got Marie's Rock, Epatante, and Brandy Love. To add to those as well, now got Honeysuckle going to be running in the race, and I mean Love Envoy as well. So I mean, it's going to be a very competitive renewal of this race. Looking back, there's been some good winners over the years. Benny Dedeur, Vroom Vroom Mag, I was a big fan of. Johnny, any other previous winners of this race that you were huge on?
Well, I think you just mentioned my favourite there when Vroom Vroom Mag won. Obviously, we were both on it. Was it 20-1? Was it, Alex?
Yeah, it was when she ran at Ascot, didn't she? And we were at Haydock the same day or something.
Yeah, that's right. And we were ploughing in then, weren't we?
I loved that horse. I loved Vroom Vroom.
Yeah, that
real
was my
gutsy mare.
It's been quite a hard race to pick actually over the years, hasn't it? Apart from since Quivega retired. There's been a couple of winners there that you wouldn't expect, would you? With like Glenn's Melody, there we mentioned that one.
Don't mention Any Power.
Roxana was a little bit of a shock as well, obviously. And
that was Benny Dedeur, wasn't it? That fell that year. Was it that year?
Yeah. So those were two shock winners. Obviously, Honeysuckle won it in 2020. I did actually like the win of Black Tears because I was keen on her all year, wasn't I? And I was on at a really big price.
Yeah, we picked her up. We couldn't believe the price. I think when she was definitely double-figure price, I think, going up to the festival.
Yeah.
And I think when she ran in handicaps or something, or prior to, and she had, I think she might have blown her mark and I think it was just too big a price for that race that year. And Constantista was obviously the favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that was another good winner. So yeah, it does promise to be a very good race, and you know, at this moment in time, there's probably 5 horses that have got a really good chance in it. Yeah,
it's just what you want to see, isn't it? A lot of the time, people say the Mares Hurdle is a rubbish race, but when you've got 5 real good quality mares like this, it as I say, it could be one of the best races of the festival. Looking through some of the comments, once again, this is the last time I'll say this. This was done before the Dublin Racing Festival. However, UK Bucks actually commented and said Honeysuckle. So clearly thought that she'd be rerouted or come to this race in the end. So some good insight there. Friend of the channel, Lauren Fahy, she put that she loves Love Envoy and Marie's too, and she'll also be backing Honeysuckle as well, I'm sure. So I'm sure Lauren will have quite a few bet slips for this race. And then Paddy Jameson said Marie's Rock's likely to go for the stayers. He thinks Epatant's the one for him, Grade 1 horse, and he thinks she needs more than 2 miles now. Ian, as the Henderson expert, what do you think about that? Epatant being for this race and then Marie's Rock for the stayers?
But fortunately, I have to give him a shout out. Mark Mackay. We was talking prior to her run at Aintree, I think it was, and soon as she won, he was messaging me and said, "Get on Epatant for the mare's hurdle." So I think I've got I think what it was 14-1 or so. It's a big price we got, and I was like trying to frantically try and get the price. So I owe Mark a beer if she comes in, but obviously Marie's Rock has come out and will definitely surprised me at Cheltenham when she won it. I think it was New Year's Day. I do like Love Envoy. She might need the softer ground and see what Johnny said about you got Echoes in Rain. I believe Brandy Love is due to run this weekend as well, her first time out. So it should be like an amazing race, this one. But yeah, I think I've probably got about two or three covered, I think, for this race.
And to you, Johnny, any particularly stand out for this year?
Well,
so you're on the Epatant bet as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
That we got for it from Aintree that day.
Yes, I'm on that one as well. I also do like Love Envoy as well. I think she could be sort of the one that not as many people are talking about as such, and rock up on the day, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her win. I'm very interested, obviously, to see Brandy Love at the weekend as well, because she's been like a talking horse without really doing anything on the track of late. So I mean, if she comes and has a good run round on at the weekend, then she could end up going favourite. You just know the way the markets work.
Exactly. React
to what's happened at the time. So you can't split them. You really can't. So I'll just have to wait and see for the day, really. But I'm like Ian. I've got 2 or 3 covered already, so quite happy.
Well, like you mentioned with Brandy Love, what will probably happen is she'll get cut the day that she runs. She'll then get cut after she runs if she wins, even if she'll probably be a very short price. Because I imagine it's not going to be the highest quality of field that she races against this weekend. So, or next weekend, at the end of the month. Sorry. But yeah, that's the mare's hurdle. We will move swiftly on to the Fred Winter, aka the Boodles. To me, it'll still always be the Fred Winter. Just looking through the list of previous winners, there's not really a whole lot of sort of quality, really. I mean, Jeff Kidd has not really done anything. Band of Outlaws has not really done anything. Veneer of Charm, I completely forgot that horse even existed. Diego de Charmel, Hawkeye, Un Artiste. None of these are sort of screaming they went on to have big careers, did they? So, I mean, it's a good race for what it is, because they always tend to go off like the clappers, not really one to look at for future form, really. And you can see a stat I've put on there that since 2012, there've been 7 winners priced at greater than 20-1. And I think when I look back, I think it's like 1 winning favourite over the last, I think it was 6 or 7 years or something. So, favourites don't tend to have a good record in this race. A couple of comments in here that stood out. Johnny, Jordan Watton has said that he likes Perseus Way, who's obviously been a horse that you've followed all year. He is also known as Peresus Way by Ian. What do you make of the comments on Perseus Way for the Fred Winter or the Boodles?
Yeah, I mean, I originally had earmarked him as a triumph horse, but obviously he wasn't up to that, so he could well drop in here, to be honest. And he is currently on my shortlist for it, with 3 or 4 others at the moment. But my record in this race isn't great at all. I mean, it's just funny now, just looking back to last year's result, and you see how the hell was Gaelic Warrior second after that.
Oh, I know.
It's just like, it's crazy now when you look at that, and after the way he was at the weekend, how was he second to Brazil? It's just mad, but just one of those things on the day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, it's like we said at the time, like he did everything wrong and he still nearly won. And I mean,
yeah.
he was obviously very impressive, wasn't he, in Dublin at the racing festival. So fingers crossed he can come and show his best when he comes back to Cheltenham this year.
Yeah, and win the Ballymore.
And Ian, were you looking at sort of looking at the voting? 51% there for Takao. Takao, I think that's how it's pronounced. Would that surprise you that it was so high?
It doesn't, to be honest. I'm a fan of Takao, and I think he ran into third, I believe, at the weekend, behind, was it Garner Marceau? I think it was the one that was, it was the Lossiemouth race. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I believe he's gone up £7. So if he's going to win the Fred Winter, he's going to be similar to what Brazil was last year, like near the top of the weights. Comfort zone, looking at 17%, I still think would be for the Triumph would be JP's Triumph horse. Jazzy Matty's the other one that interests me. Yeah. I think he's got have quite a nice mark. But yeah, I'm just having a quick look through some of the betting now. So
Jazzy Matty's entered for the weekend as well, isn't
he?
Because he's only been given an official rating of 122, so he might not even get in the race at the moment. So I mean, they might be just thinking, let's try and get a nice second or third, come up, I don't know, £2 or £3, because then at least you're probably more likely to get in, aren't you? Because off 122, you're probably pushing it to sneak in at the bottom of the weights. And then we've also had a comment as well from Oliver, who says he likes Scriptwriter. I think he was quite unlucky, Scriptwriter, on trials day to finish second. They say a few people said that the saddle slipped. A few people said the reason why he didn't win was because he was used to being a lead horse. Once he gets the lead, then drops back. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons what people are coming out with why he didn't win. But I mean, he obviously didn't get quite as much of a rise in weight as Comfort Zone did. So fingers crossed that could be one, I guess. Not for me, but you'll see who I've liked, because I think I actually voted for us on this one. I think I ticked Jazzy Matty. So yeah. Okay, I think that wraps up the Boodles, and we'll move on to the final race of the first day, which is the National Hunt Chase. Where else to start? Johnny. Gaillard de Mainil, 69% of the vote. You're probably the one of his most vocal supporters of all the people I know. Does that surprise you?
Not at all. 69% of people there with a lot of common sense. I just think if you look through the field, there's a lot of horses in there that just not up to scratch really. And if you look at his rating and his RPR, it's a lot higher than the ones underneath, and that's why he's favourite. Now I know his win percentage isn't great, but most of the time he's been running over distances that are just way too short for him, and a lot of grade ones as well at that, which a lot of the others will never see a grade one. They'll just be running around in handicaps before long. So that's why he's favourite, and that's why 69% of people have picked him. So, I mean, I've got him at a big price. I have got others covered in the race, but he's my main dart at it, and hopefully he does come here, and it looks like it anyway. But you never know with Willie again, do you?
No, you don't know. After
seeing Patrick's comment on that WhatsApp we had earlier, then he looks like he's trying to get the horse for him to ride himself, isn't he? So, yeah, I'm happy with him, and I'll be happy on the day. And if he gets beat by something else, then so be it.
And I mean, just looking through previous winners, there's a few ones that I know you were obviously big on. Obviously, Galvin.
Yeah.
I think we were all on LeBroy, weren't we? Cheering up JJ up the hill. I know you were quite big on Rathvinden that year, weren't you, as well?
Yeah, that was probably one of my favourites. Was Rathvinden, as well as Cause of Courses, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely loved that horse.
Always saving his best for the festival, wasn't he? Cause of Courses.
He was, yeah. There's been some decent winners of this. Obviously, Tiger Roll won it as well, didn't he? In between those two, so there's been some decent horses winning. But yeah, some good memories of this race.
Just looking through some of the comments then. Friend of the channel and contributor to our most recent preview, Sizing Ruds, the bad boy of bowls. He says that Boat de Menil is the lay of the meeting.
So wrong.
That's
I,
harsh.
I think he, at the moment, it seems like he's a bit of a Marmite horse, isn't he, Guy Domino? People either seem to love him for this or they seem to really hate him. So be interested to see what happens. Matt Crusty likes Chemical Energy. Can't see it myself. I think he was well beaten, wasn't he, by Ramillies last time at Nace. Although he did win impressively at Cheltenham early in the season. So obviously have to wait to see how that goes. Owen Evans, not the ex-Cheltenham Town goalkeeper, but Owen Evans says Minella Cruna if he qualifies tomorrow. So that's one to keep an eye on. Maybe do a SP favourite if he's the favourite for that race, and a National Hunt Chase double might be worth a look. And Money Rider Racing, they've commented and said they really like Hidden Heroics. Obviously, last time it won was at the festival, won by 45 lengths, which was a very impressive win. To be honest, I completely forgot about this race. It was the race in December on the Friday, and it was the race where I think it was a 3-horse race, and one of the horses fell and was fatally injured. And all I just remembered was just that happening, and I just completely forgot what else happened in the race. But I've watched it back, and he was very impressive. He's won 4 of his 6 starts over fences. Bigger price, might be worth a little sneak each way, because I'm sure a few of these won't go in this race, because a lot of them get entered in a few different races, don't they?
Yeah.
And any thoughts for you on this race, Ian?
No, I'm like Johnny. I'm on the Marmite horse. I do like Galliard Duminil, and as we've discussed over and over again with many people, he has got the. I know he's only won 1 race, but he obviously he's run at that distance. I think 3 miles 6, and I think he ran and won a Grade 1 race. I'm still, a lot of people like Mile and Mission. I'm still not sold on Mile and Mission. I know obviously there's you can't take the form literally where he got beat by half the track by Chemical Energy, and I think he won
60 lengths, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You don't know how fit he was, do you? That's the thing, I guess.
No, and I believe he was 3rd at Punchestown over Christmas, and I think then he come out and won. Where was it?
Tenzing.
So he has won. So he's potential, but I'm still not overly sold. I think it's going to be a fairly small field. I keep seeing, and we take the piss about Henderson, but I see he's got City Chief. I don't know if he's going to run there or not. I'm not convinced. He may not stay the trip, but
if he runs, you'll back it because you're Henderson's biggest fan.
No, I'm all on Galliard myself, but I think it could be like last year. You'd probably be lucky if you get about 6 or 7 horses in this race, but I can't see much between the 2 Donnelly horses myself, Ramleys and GDM.
Well, I'm sure we'll see how it all goes, and maybe one of them won't even go for this race. One of them might get rerouted, but I mean, as they've shown in the past, that they're not scared to run their own horses against each other, are they? So
no, definitely not.
Could well end up with being both of them in there. Could end up with one of them missing the festival. Could end up with them both running different races. Who knows? Well, we'll know, but not until Tuesday race week. So,
indeed.
Okay. So that wraps up and finishes day 1 then of the festival, which promises to be a really good day's racing. Thank you to Johnny and Ian for joining me this evening. Thanks for coming on.
Alex.
And thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for liking and thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. And if you want to get involved as well, get involved in our polls on our Twitter feed. Our Twitter is at Cheltenham_X. If you don't follow us already, and I'm sure it's somewhere in the description as well. Thanks again to Lloyd from Hacked Up for your continued support. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks all.